Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. I will try to demonstrate all the stimuli options that you can have in Testable. The best thing to look at all the options available is to consult the manual. You can find the manual at testable.org/manual.pdf. And here you have a section dedicated to the columns that are used to define the stimuli and to position the stimuli. This chapter is on page 8, columns to define and position the stimuli. So we'll go one by one through all the options possible. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask through the Q&A option in the Zoom webinar. Okay, so let's start. I created already an empty project here called Stimuli option. You see that it doesn't have any trial file yet. We're gonna start to create this experiment. So if we click on the trial file here, and then we start to create the trial file, I will show you the stimuli that you can present in Testable. So let's start with some instructions just to have a first screen there. Or actually, you can keep only the content here. Oops. Let's delete that. Just say hello and nothing else. Okay, and let's have test trials in which we want to present different types of stimuli. So you know by now, hopefully, that stimuli are presented with columns stim1 to stim_n, however many stimuli you want to have. So let's say we want to present image1.jpg, so we need to have stim format JPEG. And that's about it. With this simple setup, you already have an experiment that is just going to present one image. For all the stimuli that we present, there is a default response option. I'm not going to cover much in terms of the response options in this webinar because the next webinar is going to talk about that in detail. For now, let's just assume a common response option for all the trials. Let's say that we enable 2 keys from the keyboard, 1 and 0. And that should be it, okay? So with this one, we present one image. We can increase the number of stimuli that we want to present on the screen. Let's move this column here because it's easier to complete. So let's say for the next trial, we want to have 2 stimuli on the screen. In this case, we just say image2 or whatever the file name of the second file is. Testable has some default images, and they are called image1.jpg, image2.jpg, and so on. So that's why I'm using these file names here. Okay, so let's start with this very simple one to make sure that everything works, and then we can develop further. And the experiment should be available here. So uploading it, we can get the calibration screen and then the hello, and then we see one image. Okay, I press 1, and then I go to the next one, and I see the second trial image 1 and 2, and that's the experiment, our experiment so far. Okay, for illustrating better the cutoffs between the trials, let's add also a default ITI here. So let's say 800 milliseconds between the trials so that we know exactly when one trial finishes and the next one starts. Okay, so with this you present images, and you can have up to 6 images in a trial that are positioned centrally by default. You can have an unlimited number of images presented in a trial, but in this case, you will need to position them manually. So we ensure that they are centered horizontally and vertically only up to 6. After that, you'll need to use the manual positioning option in Testable to present more stimuli. I will show you in a second how to do that. But let's increase the number of stimuli. So let's say, let's use the other default images that we have in Testable. So now this trial will present 6 images, and you'll see they will all be centered. Okay, what if we want to present other types of stimuli? So you can present also words or text in Testable. So for this one, you use word here in the stim format. Let's say word 1 so that it's clear. Again, you can have up to 6 words here and they will be positioned centrally by us by default. Okay, we'll see how that looks like. Then we can also have sounds, playing sounds, audio files. They need to be of the format MP3. The default file that we have in Testable is called audio1. And then you can also present video files. And the Steam format for that is MP4. And the default video file that we have is called video1. Okay. For the audio one, let's add something else on the screen so that you can see that it's working, because otherwise it's going to be just me hearing the sound in my headphones. You will not know that actually it works. So let's use Steam options. And among the Steam options available, there is one called controls, which makes the controls of the playing audio files visible. So the participant can actually stop, rewind, and so on. So let's play the sound with that. So now if we re-upload the trial file, okay, some files are missing. Okay, you see the warning. That's a very good warning. Word1.jpg, word2.jpg, and so on. That's because I didn't change the Steam format here in this file, right? So I have JPEG, so it's looking for an image. Testable is looking for an image that is called word1.jpg, word2.jpg. So that's actually not correct. I should have word here. Okay, so let's save it again. Let's re-upload. And I have audio1.mp3 missing. Yes, because the default file is sound1. I always get confused. So hopefully this time everything is going to be fine. So let's re-upload. Okay, all good this time. So we'll see all these trials. So we have one image, then we have 6 images, 1 word, 6 words, and then 1 audio file and 1 video file. So the first one image on the screen. The second trial, we have 6 images. Make sure that you have enough of screen to present all the 6 images. Otherwise, you need to make them smaller. But yeah, you can zoom out if you want to make sure that all the images are on the screen. Okay. Then you see the word, and then you see 6 words, and then the audio file that is playing and that I can hear in my headphones with the controls, and then you see the video file that is playing with the sound as well. So these are the basics when it comes to presenting different types of stimuli. So we have Steam options that we can define for each of these ones. And Steam options, some of the options refer to certain stimuli types, others are common for everything. So for example, we can have random here. If we want to randomize the position or the order of the stimuli presented on the screen, we can use Steam options random. And in this case, we'll see all this will be randomized. Let's use it also for words, and then you'll see how it looks like. Another thing that we can do for the sound files and for the audio, for the video files, is to use controls. You've seen how this one works for audio files. Let's use it for videos as well. Also for videos, let's try all the others. So let's try muted. In this case, it's gonna mute the sound of the video. You're not gonna notice it in this webinar, but you can try it yourself. Then we can also have something called no autoplay. So by default, the video files are played when they are uploaded. Like this, the participant has to click on the play button and let's say keep. With this flag here, keep, the video will stay on the screen with the last frame visible until the participant responds. Okay, so let's try these options to see how they look like as well. I upload the trial file. And let's run the experiment. First trial, image 1, nothing changed. Then we have this one with 6 images that we chose to randomize. So you see, the order is randomized. Then we have 1 word. Then we have 6 words that are randomized, presented on the screen. Then we have the audio file playing. And then we have the video file not playing. Now it's loaded and the participant has to click on play. It's going to play. You see this is muted, so no sound. And when it finishes, the last frame will stay on the screen until the participant responds. So these are the options that you can use for audio and video files, and also the random options that you can use with all the stimuli. There is also an option called loop that you can use. As you can imagine, with sounds and with videos, it works by simply looping the stimuli. So it's just gonna play this sound1.mp3 or video1.mp4 until participants respond. You can have something like that. Yeah, it works like you would expect. But what happens for images and for words? What happens for visual stimuli? So in this case, it works as well for images when you present images for a limited time. So let's say in a change blindness task, you want to present 2 images with a slight difference between them and all the time flickering between the 2 images. So you would have 2 stimuli, let's say image 1 and image 2. Okay, you want to present them for a limited time, let's say 200 milliseconds each. And this is how we specify the times, the presentation times for 2 stimuli. And you need to specify an interstimulus interval as well, because that's a sequential presentation of stimuli. So let's say the interstimulus interval is 100. Okay? If you don't add anything else, you're going to see image 1 for 200 milliseconds, a blank screen for 100 milliseconds, and image 2 for another 200 milliseconds. If now in Stim options we add loop, then the images will continue to change. So 200 milliseconds, blank 100, 200 milliseconds image, blank 100, 200 milliseconds image, and so on. Let's illustrate that and see how that works. So let's delete some of the others that we don't care about for now. So I think we can delete up to here. Okay. So we re-upload the trial file. And decrease the zoom a bit. We access the experiment again. So the first trial, image 1, image 2, image 1, image 2, you see, it's just gonna go on like that until the participant responds. So I press that. And now we have the trial with the loop for the video. So I hope it's visible that the video file plays for 5 seconds, and then after that it starts from the beginning again. And it's gonna continue to play until the participants respond. Okay. So these are some of the things that you can do with the stimuli. And now let me show you how you can position the stimuli manually in case you want to do something like this. So for that, you use the column called Stim Pause. And let's do it for the images. Stim Pause only works for images for now. We will extend it to words and to the other stimuli soon, but for now it only works for images. So you can make use of the manual positioning only for the images. Here, in case you don't want them to be centered by default, you have to specify the displacement from the center of the screen for each image. So If you write something like 0, 0 here, that means I want the images in their default position in the center of the screen. If instead of 0, 0, you have minus 100 and minus 300, let's say, or still 100, that means, oops, should write with a little thing in front here so that it stays text. That means I want the stimulus, the image, to be shifted to the left 100 pixel and up 100 pixel compared to the centered position. So that's how you do the manual positioning in Testable. You specify the shift to the left, right, or up, down from the center of the screen. If you have two images and you want to position them manually, you have to specify both positions. So let's say in this case 300, 300, so that it's even more obvious that they're going to be shifted. So let's see how this works. Save. Okay. So now you see image 1, it's shifted up and to the left by 100 pixels, and image 2 is shifted down and to the right by 300 pixels. If you use the manual positioning, you can have an unlimited number of stimuli here. So you can go up to stim 50 if you want, but you need to position all of them manually, to specify the position manually. You can position blocks of stimuli as well. So let's say I have here image 3, image 4, image 5, and image 6, okay? And you see, I specify the position. Let's go a bit with a smaller shift here so that we can see all the images. So image 1 is 100 pixels shifted to the left and up. Image 2 is shifted down and to the right, 100 pixel. But then I don't specify anything for the other stimuli. So what Testable assumes is that you want to position the other stimuli after the last specified stimulus. So in this case, stim2. So they're just going to be added after stim2 on the same line. I can show you in a second how this one looks like. Also, let's say that you want to have the third image in the center of the screen. So you already know you can just put 0, 0. And then let's continue with all the others, like that. And then let's make another one in which we have nothing specified. So not 0, 0, but instead just with semicolon. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think. Did I right? Okay, so that's the third one, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. Okay. So let's illustrate what all of this will do. Okay. So access it. Okay, so now we have image 1 that is shifted, and then we have image 2 starting here, and then image 3, 4, 5, and 6 positioned according to image 2. Then we have image 1 here, a bit shifted and to the back. Then we have image 2 that is here, and then image 3, 4, 5, and 6 are positioned to the center of the screen because we haven't specified anything for them. Sorry, we just said that 0, 0, which means their default position assigned by Testable, okay, which is position in the middle of the screen. And then we have this one, again, image 1 image 2 position here, and then image 3, 4, 5, and 6 immediately afterwards. Okay, so let's have only one image now, and show you something else that you can do with Stimpose. So only one image, but now I want to specify a random position. So how do I do that? Well, I can pre-specify the values from which the positions should be picked, or a range of values from which I should pick one for the positions. So to specify the different values, I can say minus 100, or with this line minus 200, or let's say to the left or to the right. Let's say 200 or minus 200, and then I will want to have the same minus 200 or 200. Okay. So in this case, Testable is going to choose one of these two values here and one of these two values, and it's going to be randomly pick these values. Okay. Oops. Try to make this a bit bigger, maybe like that. Then we can also have another one in which we specify a range. To specify the range, we can say I want some value between minus 200 and 200, and we specify the range like that with this underscore, and the same here. So let's go with these two options. Okay, so let's see them on the screen now. So it happened that we picked the value for plus 200, minus 200, so going up, shifted up, and plus 200 shifted to the right. So that's why the image is shown there. And for the next one, it picked randomly a value from that range, which happened to be here. So horizontal value and a vertical value. Okay, and you can do the same for all the stimuli. So if you have more stimuli here, you just put a semicolon, and then you specify again the same range here, the same values here. You can do it obviously the same for the ranges. So just copy this range and you add it to the second stimulus as well. For the range, you can also define the steps. So maybe you don't want any value between minus 200 and 200, but you want values such as minus 200, minus 150, minus 100, minus 50, 0, and so on. So you want a step of 50 here. So you can specify that step here with an extra underscore. So you can have minus 200 to 200 in steps of 50. That's exactly the same naming convention that we have for the sliders. For when we define the sliders, we'll see in the seminar, in the webinar reserved for all the response options. Okay, so that's about it for the Stimpose. Remember, it works only for images for now. Let me show you something else. Actually, just explain to you how it works, because I'm not going to be able to demonstrate it. So how do you add an audio file to a visual stimulus, so to an image or to a word? Well, you can do that. So you can present more than one type of stimuli by adding a column that is called audio. So that's like an audio background. You can think of it like that. So let's say that in these trials, we present one image, image1.jpg, and one word, which is word1, okay? And we want to add background noise or a sound. Then we specify it here, and we say sound1.mp3. So we have to specify the whole file name, including the extension. So in this case, we will see the image or the word, and we will see also the sounds. The sounds should start playing at about the same time with the presentation of the image or with the word. And that's a pretty useful feature, I think. It turns out that there are many more experiments than we expected that use this feature of presenting sounds and images at the same time. Okay, let me see if I forgot something else to demonstrate. I think I've went through most of the things. Yeah. A few words about the sequential presentations of stimuli. So you can do that with interstimulus interval with the IC. So anytime you specify an IC here, Testable knows it's a sequential presentation. And depending on the number of the interstimulus intervals that you have specified, that's how many screens you will have in that trial. So let's say that I want that I have 4 stimuli here, which are called image 1 up to image 4. And I want to present them one by one on different screens. So in this case, I need 4 different screens. For 4 different screens, I need 3 interstimulus interval, because I have the first IC between screen 1 and screen 2, the second IC between screen 2 and screen 3, and the third IC between screen 3 and screen 4. So I can type something like that. Or if it's the same value all the time, I can shorten it by writing 200 times 3. It's exactly the same. Okay, but then I also need to specify the presentation time for each screen. So I have 4 screens. Let's say I want to present the stimuli for 500 in the first instance, then 1000 second screen, then 1000 again. And if I stop here, the last stimulus, stim4, will be presented for unlimited time. If I write something here, then it's going to assume this value for the presentation time, so 500 milliseconds. So that's how you do the sequential presentation. Let's say that here now you specify only, you have 4 images, but you specify only 2 interstimulus intervals. What happens in this case? Well, we take the first image for the first screen, we take the second image for the second screen, and whatever is left is put on the last screen. So there are 2 stimuli, 2 images here, they will both appear on the last screen. So let's illustrate that as well. Okay, and let's go with presentation time for this one, and for this one, and for the third screen. And there is another situation, well, and let's have JPEGs here as well, in which you may want to present 1 stimulus first, then 2 stimuli on the second screen, and the last stimulus on the last screen. So how do you do that? Well, you do it like that. So you have 200, that's the first one. And then you say, okay, between the second and the third, I don't want any ISI because I want to present them on the same screen. So you just don't type in anything. You just add another semicolon, okay? And then that's it. Because after that, the last stimulus, image 4, will appear by default on the screen. So let's do this trial as well. And presentation time, let's keep them similar here as well. Okay. Okay, maybe it's better here to add 1 extra stimulus just to make it more clear how it works, I'm thinking. So let's say we have image 5 as well. Okay, so okay, so let's see what happens. We have 3 ISI defines, remember? So one that is blank, meaning that I want these images to go together, and then I have another one for 200, yeah? So I upload this file. Oops. No. Okay, go back, re-upload the file. and upload the experiment again. So image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4, 1 image per screen, okay? That was the first case. And we had image 1, image 2, and then image 3 and 4 for the last one. And that's the third case, okay? So image 1, then image 2 and image 3, and then image 4 and image 4, whatever was left. And that's it. All right, I hope that explains the options that we have available for Stimuli presentations. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email us at contact@testable.org. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.